My question is, how do you instill ethical leadership throughout your organization? And to begin with, how do you know that the management one level below you is making decisions that would parallel your own?
We have all the money we need. You know, we'd like to have more, but we can afford to lose money. But we can't afford to lose reputation, not a shred of reputation. And therefore, I ask the managers, I ask them to judge every action they take, not just by legal standards, although obviously that's the first test, but also by the test, what I call the newspaper test. How would they feel about any given action if they knew it was to be written up the next day in their local paper, to be read by their family, by their friends, by their neighbors, written by a smart but kind of unfriendly reporter? And if it passes that test, it's okay. And I tell them if anything is close to the lines, it's out. And they can always call me if they wanted to check something. But if they call me, there's something wrong with it probably anyway. So, and that's about it.
Could you tell us a little bit about your typical workday and how you manage your time?
And you'd be surprised at my days. I mean, they're very unstructured. No meetings. None. I mean, I don't like meetings. And I read a lot. I wish I were a faster reader. You know, I'd get more done. But I do read a lot, and I'm on the phone a moderate amount. Our businesses run themselves basically out there. My job is allocating capital, and that's what I'm thinking about. But I don't like to have things all packed hour to hour to hour. And Bill and I are both extraordinarily lucky. I mean, we really get to do what we like to do, the way we want to do it, with people that we choose to be around, and they're terrific. I mean, we've really got everything our way, and we're very fortunate. And in his world, he has a different kind of pace than I have, but we both love it the way we do it. And my guess is that we're each the most productive in that particular mode too, because it fits our personalities and aptitudes.
If you guys decided to drop a $100 bill, would you bother going back to pick it up, or would you let a lowly college student like myself go get it?
If he drops 10 cents on the floor as he walks out and he doesn't pick it up, I'll pick it up.
And I was just wondering, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and how has it impacted your personal or professional lives?
What did I tell you that impressed you the most?
Actually, I can answer that. When first I met Warren, we were talking about getting together and doing something again, and he pulled out his calendar, and the pages were so blank. And I said, wow, you know, you've managed to avoid getting tied into a lot of kind of meaningless activity. And, you know, Warren said, yeah, you have to be good at saying no and picking the things that really make a difference. And that's one of many things I've learned from Warren, but that's one of my favorites. And so I can blame it on him whenever I'm turning things down.
Yeah, well, actually, I told him that was the truth is I don't get invited anyplace. I think that, you know, I got an awful lot of good advice from my dad, and he didn't lay it on me. I mean, he just, you know, you picked it up from him, but there was never any of this, you know, do this, do that type of thing at all. But I think he really taught me that it's more important in terms of what's on your inner scorecard than your outer scorecard. I mean, some people get in a position where they're thinking all of the time of what the world's going to think of this or that instead of what they themselves think about. And if your inner scorecard, if you're comfortable with that, I think you're going to have a pretty happy life. And I think the people that strive too much for the outer scorecard sometimes find it's a little hollow when they get all through.
We all consider you to be the financial business experts, and we look to you and follow your lead. But when you need advice and feedback about an idea or decision, I'd like to know, who do you go to?
Well, usually I look in the mirror. I mean, to be perfectly honest. The nature of what I do means I have to think pretty much independently. Because if I take a poll, in effect, I'm going to do what everybody else is doing, and I don't think much of that usually in investments. And so I have to have an environment, I have to have a temperament personally that lets me think for myself. And I've got a terrific partner, a fellow named Charlie Munger. And you can't find anybody any smarter, any better quality of anything. But we think a lot alike. And we do talk things over occasionally, but we don't talk them over very often because I know how he thinks, he knows how I think. He's taught me a lot, you know, and you know, why should I pay for a phone call if I know what he's going to say? So if I need to get a cabinet around to make decisions or anything like that, I probably shouldn't be running the place. That doesn't bother me to have the responsibility for it, but I just don't want to put it up to a vote because I've seen too many, particularly in the investment world, as you get larger and larger groups making the decisions, they get more and more homogenized. And I don't think you will ever get brilliant investment decisions out of a large committee.
Great asset.
And incidentally, at Berkshire, Bill has an integrated business. We have this diverse group out there. But we have 40 managers, and I really encourage them to be doing the same thing. I mean, they run their businesses, and they know how to do it, and they're going to make some mistakes, but they basically make the calls, and they don't have to check with us. It's amazing how decentralized we are in that respect. But you know, we bet on brains, and we bet on people with energy and brains and integrity, and they're going to call most of them right, and I think we would lose an awful lot by having all kinds of layers of committees to review that they had to check with and that sort of thing.
You both have several managers working under you, so I was wondering what are some steps that a new entrant into the job market can take to accelerate their journey towards an upper-level management position?
Yeah, well, one thing I will tell you that I didn't realize when I was getting out of school is how much the unusual person will jump out at you. I mean, you know, and it isn't because they got 200 IQs or anything like that. It's really because of just how they behave, you know, what they bring, the energy they bring, the commitment they bring, the quality of how they do things, how they treat the people around them, all kinds of things. But you will jump out much more than you might anticipate. One of the things you would want to be sure to do is, whether you like it or not, get very comfortable, it may take a while, with public speaking, for example. I mean, that's an asset that will last you 50 or 60 years, and it's a liability if you don't like doing it and are uncomfortable doing it. That also will last you 50 or 60 years, and it's a necessary skill. But a lot of the skills are just human skills. If you get the best out of people around you, that's a rare talent, and it doesn't correlate with IQ. It correlates with an attitude and toward the world and toward other people. And it's a talent that if you work at early and you're really conscious about it, you know, you don't have to show up other people. You know, you don't have to be smarter than they are or anything else. You want to bring out the best in them. It will pay huge dividends. The habits you develop, and I go back, the other thing is have the right heroes. I mean, I've always been lucky in that respect. And if the people you look up to are going to form your vision of what the world, you know, how you want to be in later life. And well, I'll give you two pieces of advice. I'd invest as much in myself as you can. I mean, you're your own biggest asset by far. I mean, you've got all kinds of potential. All the people in this room, you're lucky to be in this country, gotten a good education. But most people go through life using up a very, very small part of their potential. And so anything you do that invests in yourself, that's the best investment you can possibly make. And then I would follow my passion. I mean, whatever turns you on. You know, I was lucky. I found something early that turned me on. But you don't want to take a job just for the money. You don't want to take a job for an organization that you really don't feel good about, or work for people that you don't feel good about. You really want to be excited when you get out of bed every morning. And it won't necessarily be the job that you have 10 years later, but you'll be learning so much as you go along. And you know, I took a job with Ben Graham, my hero, and it, you know, I never asked the salary, and I found at the end of the month when I got my first paycheck what I was earning, because I just knew it was the right thing to be doing. So I would follow your passion.
Yes, my question is, hearing about the globalization of business, being a small business owner myself, I wonder how you see that affecting the small business sector.
I don't think most small businesses, as I think of them, I don't think it's going to have that much effect on what you do. I mean, if you're bringing something to your customer that they want at a price that makes sense for them, you know, you're not going to be undercut by whether somebody's doing something in China or India on a small business. I mean, when I think of the small businesses I deal with, they do not have a problem with globalization. If you've got a major textile business or shoe business or furniture business, you're going to be very much affected by what's going on around the world in terms of production costs.
I was just wondering, what would you consider to be the worst investment you've ever made?
The worst investment I ever made? How long do you have? I've made some very bad ones, but that doesn't really bother me. It may bother the shareholders, but that's another question. You're going to make mistakes in life. I mean, there's no question about it. You don't want to make them on the big decisions, who you marry and some things like that. So there's no way I'm going to make a lot of business and investment decisions without making some mistakes. I may try to minimize them. I don't dwell on them at all. I don't look back. The biggest mistakes are the ones that actually don't show up. They're the mistakes of omission rather than commission. We've never lost that much money on any one investment. But it's the things that I knew enough to do that I didn't do. We have missed profits of as much as maybe $10 billion in things that I knew enough to do and I didn't do. Now, the fact I didn't buy Microsoft way back is not a foregone opportunity because I didn't know enough to make that decision. But there have been other investments where I did know enough to make the decision, and for one reason or another, I either didn't do it at all or I did it on a small scale. I was sucking my thumb when I should have been writing checks, basically. And those don't show up. There's no place where it shows missed opportunities, but I've missed some big ones. The triumphs in life are partly triumphs because you know that everything isn't going to be a triumph. I would never get too hung up on mistakes. I know a lot of people that really agonize over them, and it just isn't worth it. I mean, tomorrow's another day, and you live it forward and just go on to the next thing.
How much money, as you guys being both billionaires, do you guys carry in your wallet at any given time?
How much we got in our wallet? Well, I can answer that because we're going to go to this evening we're going to get in a poker game. Okay. And it's a $500 buy-in. And so I made very sure that I had at least $500 in my wallet. And I have a little more than that, but I don't carry around a lot of money.
A lot of us are pursuing higher education because we want to leave the world a better place than the one we found it. And
that's terrific.
As one person at the end of the day who can actually affect tremendous amounts of people and ideas, how do you make your decisions?
You're changing the world every day. I mean, if it's nothing but the children you have, I mean, you are forming their view of the world, and you do it every day. So you are a teacher. But with the people around you, one of the best things in life to do is to surround yourself with high-grade people, because you will behave as the people around you do, but they in turn are getting it from you. It's kind of like a planetary system, and you will. I promise you, you will change the world in some way, and my guess is you'll change it very much for the better. But you can't expect to see something dramatic. I mean, it's not one of those Shazam moments or something of the sort. But you by how you're behaving are affecting other people, setting an example for other people. But you will find ways to leave a better world than you entered.
My question is, our society, or our Generation Y, we face a lot of issues. What do you think are some of the most important or most challenging societal issues that we face, and what can we do as future leaders to ensure that we create a better society in the future? We got lucky tickets in life. I mean, we got a ticket that said American, we got a ticket that said intelligent, we got a ticket, that said this time rather than 200 years ago when the same talents would not have produced much. So we got a very lucky ticket in life. A lot of people don't get lucky tickets. We were over in China together 10 years ago, and we saw some people that wouldn't make any difference what their brain power was or anything else. They weren't going to have a chance, at least for a long, long time. I think we've got to do a much better job of not only taking care of the people that get the bad tickets in this country, but in doing what Bill and Melinda have done, which is going around the world and helping those people have things that we regard as absolute, givens in our society. I mean, Bill has taken vaccines to people around the world that die at very young ages, and families that get destroyed, and all kinds of things, for things that we could do something about. Those are the things that we should be working on in your generation.
My question is, if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
I probably wasted 10 years reading slowly. But, no, if you're talking about granting a wish, I mean, what you would, with the type of thing, I mean, what you really would hope is that somehow you could reduce the threat posed by nuclear knowledge in the world. I mean, that's going to be the great problem of mankind in your lifetime. And, you know, the knowledge is out of the bottle. The genie's out of the bottle on that. And you have a lot of evil people in the world. And then the question is, how do you prevent intent of evil people coupled with knowledge, which has now gotten more widespread, to interact in a way where huge amounts of damage are done to people throughout the world. And that's, I mean, that, if I could, I think that's the most intelligent thing to work on philanthropically, for example, but I don't know how to do it very well. We do a little, but that's, you know, that would be the wish. But the reason it's just kind of a dream is because the problem is so tough.
In our society that's so material, and you and your families are so well off, how do you ensure that your children value things that aren't material and things that will truly make them happy in the end?
Well, I was a little lucky in that respect, in that my kids didn't think I was rich, and I wasn't rich for a while. I mean, but even after I was, you know, we lived in the same house. There's only one house they've known in their life in terms of a primary home, and they went to public schools in Omaha, and we lived in a neighborhood where, and we still do, where the average income is probably more or less average for Omaha. So they really didn't have that problem. My kids didn't even know what I did. I mean, partly because I couldn't explain it very well, but they did not grow up in a rich environment. Now Bill's situation's different, and just in terms of you know, being a celebrity and all of that sort of thing, and that came late enough with me that it didn't really pose problems for the family. But it has to be it's a significant fact. Our kids are rich and are going to be rich by the standards of the world. They don't think they're going to inherit a significant portion of the fortunes of either of us. I mean, 99% of what I have, it'll go to philanthropy one way or another. And Bill has the same attitude, basically, that we are not going to turn out some super wealthy kids. They'll be wealthy. I mean, there's no question about that. But the idea of dynastic fortunes, you know, I find it turns me off. I don't think it's what America's about. I don't think, if you talk about equality of opportunity in this country and really having everybody with talents having a fair shot at getting the brass ring and all of that, the idea that you hand huge positions in society on simply because someone came from the right womb, you know, I find that, I just think it's almost un-American.
Several Eastern European countries have successfully enacted a flat income tax, and now there is growing pressure in Western Europe to do the same. Would you support the United States adopting a flat income tax, and why or why not?
Well, I wouldn't support it. You'd be amazed how flat it is already. If you look at both the payroll tax, which is over 12% now, and that applies on the first $80,000 or $90,000 of income. So Bill and I pay practically none of that in relation to our income. The people that work for us, it's a big tax. So if you take the tax that my assistant or you know, anybody in our office pays, they've got 12% on that first $80,000 or $90,000, and then they have the income tax, and their tax rate, literally, in many cases, is not, well, it's the same and maybe even higher than my own tax rate, since they cut the rate on capital gains to 15% and dividends to 15%. So what has gone on in this country in the last, well, in very recent years, is a huge benefit to the very rich, and not that much relief to people down below. And people, when you read about tax rates, they usually leave out the payroll tax, and they don't refer to this 12 and a fraction percent. So we have come, in my view, to a taxation system that's much too flat in this country, and frankly, I think that Bill and I should have a higher tax rate on the income we get. We pay a lot of taxes, but it's really at a very low rate, and it's a rate that's less than half the tax rate that I was paying 25 years ago when I was making a lot less money. They have really taken care of the rich. I could spend the rest of my life, and I could have done this 20 years ago, and actually pay no federal income tax, because I could have taken my Berkshire Hathaway stock, borrowed some money against it every year to live on, and when I died, then the estate would pay off the debt on it. But I could have gone through my life, a good bit of my life, without paying any income tax whatsoever. And I frankly think it's very unfair.
My question is, the Forbes 400 puts your collective net worth at $91 billion. By comparison, that figure exceeds the combined gross domestic product of the bottom 70 nations in the world. How do you feel that your immense wealth contributes to the balance of global prosperity?
Yeah, well, the wealth, in effect, is a bunch of, the prosperity comes about through the products that Microsoft turns out. They're changing the lives of millions and millions of people. In the process, you get these eventual claim checks on society's output. These little pieces of paper that I've got in a vault called stock certificates, can be turned in at some point to get goods and services of one sort or another. Basically, the money is going to go in a way that we think will have the most impact, beneficial impact on society, viewed on a global basis, not just on a national or regional basis. It will go, we hope, as intelligently as we can make it go, to change the lives of people all over the world. Now, there's two factors that enter into it. That's the amount you leave or put into charity, and then how efficiently you do it.
As college students, we're constantly thinking and planning towards the future. Where do you personally envision yourself to be in 10 years?
I'm glad you didn't ask my doctor. If I'm in decent health, I'll be doing exactly what I'm doing now, because I'm doing what I love now. If I could do almost anything that doesn't require any athletic or mental ability, what do I choose to do? I choose to jump out of bed every morning and run down and work at Berkshire Hathaway, and I don't see anything that changes that. I'm doing what I love, and health will determine how long I can keep doing it. But I've told my children that when I start going gaga and spend my time spinning yo-yos and things like that, that they're to come to me and tell me that it's time to step down. But I've told them they better all come as a group, because if just one comes, I'm going to take them out of the will.
From North Dakota originally. I was wondering, what is your definition of success, and what has been your largest non-business success in life?
Well, we played ping pong against a 9-year-old girl in San Francisco. 2 weeks ago. Her name's Ariel.
Yeah, how many points did you get?
She got up. Bill got more points off her than I did. I thought I was pretty good, too. And this little 9-year-old, it's disgusting. She should have been in bed. She totally cleaned us. No, that was a little humiliating. We get a lot of people that want us to adopt them. He's working on his children, I'm working on my great-grandchildren, but otherwise we got the same approach. I would say this in terms of success. This will surprise you. But I would say I've never known anybody that got to my age or close to my age that had lots of people that loved them that felt anything other than a success. You have lived a successful life if, as you get older, the people that you hope love you do. And that includes your family, your business associates, all kinds of people. And the converse of that is that I know people enormously wealthy, they get schools named after them, and they get dinners in their honor, all that sort of thing. And the truth is that nobody thinks a thing of them. And I have to believe they know that, and that everything gets quite hollow in their life at that point. And they've got all these markers, and there's people on the Forbes 400, that are in that category. And I won't name names. But I can't think of anyone I've known, and I've known some, a lot of people by this point in my life. I've seen them in very ordinary jobs, all kinds of situations. If the people around them love them, they feel very successful.